Hey guys, so one of the things that we're really going to be working on this week is drafting and starting peer review for these eulogy essays. So I want to bring your attention to this week 3 folder. So as you can see, your rough draft is going to be due on Wednesday, September 8th. And then your responses to your course mates are going to be due on Sunday, the 12th at 11:59 p.m. Now, let's review. We've talked a little bit about what a rough draft is, but I think it's really important that we review what that means. Guys, this is not perfect writing. This is you taking your outline and getting it down on paper, no matter what it looks like. Don't stress about your punctuation, don't stress about your grammar. Get it down on paper. So if we go into this week 3 folder, I want to make sure that you're seeing these lectures and that you're taking the time to really read through my lecture notes as well. But this is where we're going to be working on our draft and our peer review. So you're going to click on this discussion board and you're going to create a thread. And here are the instructions, and I want to make sure that we're going through those step by step. So, draft week is one of my favorite things that we do in English 111. It's a time for you to work hard on your writing, and it gives you an opportunity to allow your peers to review that writing. Last week, we talked about growth mindset and how each opportunity in education is an opportunity to grow and develop our skills. We are putting that idea into practice this week as we work together to enhance your craft. First, please submit your draft using a Word document to your thread. So after you create your draft in Word, and remember, we have to use Word because that's the best way for us to leave feedback for one another. You're going to use this little button and you're going to attach it, okay, as a local file. And then right here in your subject line, I want you to put your name and then rough draft, okay? Just super simple. And then you're going to submit it, and that's how you're going to receive the first part of your points, the first 50 points. All right. And then after you've completed your drafting portion, you are going to revise a peer's essay. All right. And I want to show you. We are going to watch this video together. That's going to talk about why we do this feedback and this peer review part of the process. Make sure that I am sharing the sound.
The chances are that you've encountered some form of peer review before, either in your academic life or perhaps in a work or school context. The reason for this is that peer review works, and thus educators are keen to reap its benefits for their students. If you've participated in peer review before, you've probably witnessed these benefits firsthand. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why peer review will make you a better writer. But firstly, I should explain what peer review is. Peer review involves some sort of evaluation of your work by people of a similar level or at a similar stage of their studies. If you are new to peer review, you might be asking yourself, well, what's in it for me? What can I possibly get from feedback from someone who only knows as much or maybe even less about a topic than I do myself? Perhaps the idea of giving and receiving feedback from your peers is something that you feel uncomfortable about. And another thing, students I meet also often worry about their own ability to provide useful feedback to their fellow students. Of course, all these reactions are valid, but receiving and responding to feedback from your peers can be invaluable to your own development as a writer. Yes, your peers are probably not likely to be as experienced at giving feedback as your teachers, but the more sets of eyes you can get on your own work, and the more feedback from different perspectives, the better. Sometimes we, as writers, are up so close and personal to our own writing that we can fail to see the wood for the trees. In other words, we might miss the bigger picture, such as how the essay fits together as a whole, because we are so focused on the details. Equally, it's very easy to be blind to mistakes in our own texts, mistakes that a second reader will pick up easily. You should bear in mind, though, that a peer reviewer should not do the job of proofreader for you. Your text is your responsibility, And if you proofread your own text carefully before handing it over, your peer reviewer will find it much easier to comment on the text itself. One of the trickiest things about writing is seeing our text from the perspective of the audience, since it's literally impossible to get outside of our own heads. All language is about transmitting a message to a receiver, and your peer reviewer can help you to evaluate how successful this process of transmission has been without the need for a brain transplant. For instance, your reviewer will help you to see if there are any parts of the text that don't make sense, or if there's any terms that need to be more carefully defined. Peer review can also help provide the motivation that you need to get writing in the first place. Producing drafts for peer review is one way to keep writing projects on track. Writing can be a lonely activity sometimes, but the peer review process can provide you with a ready-made support group. There are other people out there who are going through similar struggles to your own. When it comes to receiving feedback from your peers, it's important to think carefully about how you will use the comments that you get. Ultimately, you are the author of your essay, and it's up to you to carefully evaluate feedback and think about what changes you will make as a result. If you're not used to receiving feedback on your writing, it can be something of an uncomfortable experience. Some people tend to take feedback on their writing personally, but it's important to remember that criticism on your writing is not criticism of you as a person, and even experienced writers can sometimes produce bad texts. When it comes to receiving feedback, think carefully about each comment and ask yourself what you will do with it. If you choose not to act on a particular piece of feedback, reflect on why this is the case. Peer review usually involves texts in progress, and this is, of course, where feedback can be most useful to you. Because when it comes to peer review, we're not talking about the finished product, it's inevitable that there will be some aspects of the text that you, as the author, are not 100% happy about. I understand that this can be a particular challenge for perfectionists. Handing over an unfinished piece of writing for review can be a daunting prospect, but understanding why the peer review process is so useful to your development as a writer can help to overcome some of these anxieties. I wanted to save the best thing about peer review until last. Perhaps you have worries about the quality of the feedback that you might get, or maybe you doubt the value of receiving feedback from students who may have even less experience of the writing process than you do yourself. Well, as far as I see it, these issues don't actually detract from the main benefit of the peer review process, and this is in developing your own critical and evaluative capacities. There is plenty of research to suggest that as the reviewer, you gain just as much, if not more, than the reviewee. If you learn what to look for in the essays of others, you'll be much better equipped to evaluate your own writing also. One of the most effective ways of learning is to explain a concept to someone else. If you can successfully explain the problems with someone else's essay and suggest possible solutions to fix these problems, you can be sure that you properly understand the principles of academic writing yourself.
So guys, as you can see, peer review just has so many different facets that are beneficial to you as a student, but not only just as a student, but as a writer, a reader. There's a wealth of different aspects of knowledge that you're going to gain from this process. So please download the first thing when you go into the peer review. And remember, this is after you've submitted your own rough draft. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to download this attached document from this discussion board, as well as your peer's essay. Okay. And I'm going to click on this, and we're actually going to review it together, as this is what you are going to be using as you go about this process. So this is the peer review worksheet that you're going to download along with your peer's essay that you're going to find in the discussion board post. So the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to put the name of the author, okay, and we're going to say Ben Johnson, and then the name of the reviewer, Mrs. Dupree, okay. And then the introduction question, how does the first paragraph introduce both the paper's topic and the writer's approach or general conclusion? Is the first sentence attention getting and relevant to the topic? Guys, these are two questions that you can really unpack and dive into, okay? What did the reader's introduction do for you? Did it grab your attention? Did it not grab your attention? Did you get a clear idea of what they were writing? Could you tell it was a eulogy, okay? That's a big thing there. Could I tell that this was even a eulogy? All right, if you get through that first introduction and there's no implication of that, then something's not quite right, okay? The next question, what can you identify as the thesis statement? All right. And remember, this may not be explicit. It may not be just super crystal clear. There may not be one sentence, but at the end of the introduction, you should be able to know what was the main message or the main idea. Okay. I would love it to even see a copy and paste of that. All right. This is what I think the thesis statement is. And then again, suggest, if possible, a way to improve that. All right. Does it need to have more clarity? Do you need it to be more concise? Give examples, give suggestions there. Structure. Can you identify the organization of the paper from the main idea of each paragraph? What are the main concepts explored in the paper? Does each paragraph make a relevant point that is distinct from what has already been covered? What are the main conclusions? Okay, guys, this goes back to that idea of topic sentences. Do you see clear topics for each paragraph? Do those examples support that topic? Is the student jumping from one topic to the next within one paragraph? Okay. Clarity and style. Do you find distracting grammar, punctuation, spelling, or word usage problems? Download the essay and highlight places where you see those consistent issues. Okay. That's why I said to download the essay alongside this document, because I want you to highlight places. If you're seeing consistent run-on sentences, if you're seeing consistent capitalization errors, if you're seeing awkward sentences, highlight those for the student, okay? Show them where you're finding them. What are the paper's greatest strengths, okay? And explain those, okay? Did they do a really good job organizing the paper? Explain that. Is the thesis statement really strong? Explain that. Is the cohesion, the way that the paper flows, really strong? Show them that. And then we're going to go to weaknesses and we're going to do the same thing there, okay? Guys, it's not enough to simply put organization. Okay, I want you to expand on it, okay? The organization of this essay was particularly noted through the writer's topic sentences. Each paragraph had a clear topic sentence, and those topic sentences gave a clear focus for each paragraph. The student expanded on the topic sentences by providing clear examples. Maybe even show the example, okay? But what I want you to see, I'm not just putting a 1 or 2 word answer here. I want you to dive into each question. These peer reviews should take you at minimum an hour, at minimum, okay? And remember, the more feedback that you give to your peer, the better they're going to do on their essay. And as you saw in that video lecture that we watched, this is not just about providing adequate feedback for your peer. The more feedback that you provide, the more you're going to learn in the process, okay? When you're doing peer review, it is really, it's kind of like a marriage. Think about it like a marriage. The more you give, the more you're going to receive, okay? It's the same thing here. The more you give to your peer, the more you're going to learn in the process, all right? So I'm going to share my screen again. We're going to go back to the actual discussion board. So after you save that document, okay, you're saving that document, you've answered every question really thoroughly, you've been really encouraging to your course mate, all right, You're going to save that document, and then you are going to respond. So let's say after you've created a thread and we see the threads, your response to the peer is going to be those attachments. All right. So I'm going to use another discussion board as an example. Okay. So basically, you are going, let's pretend this is the student's draft. You're going to go into there. You're going to reply to the draft. You're going to attach that document, and you're also going to attach their paper, because remember, you've highlighted places where you see mistakes. Okay. And then you are going to submit it. So at the end of all this, you should have you should have a draft that you did for the create thread, and then you should be going to respond to one peer, attaching that handout that I gave you along with their draft with their highlighted mistakes and places where you see consistent issues. Okay, guys, if you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to reach out. Draft Week in Peer Review is a great learning opportunity. Okay, it's a great time to catch mistakes in your course mates' essays, but also to catch mistakes in your own. And as you're teaching your peer, you're learning in that process. Again, that's all we're working on this week. You have no other homework. You're writing your draft, you're peer reviewing one of your peers' drafts. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and let's make it another great week.